Tara, it's really nice to see you joining us this evening. I have worked with you. Actually, I have had the privilege to actually see you grow in the leadership roles. But for our viewers who may not be familiar with you, would you share with the viewers what your role is and who you are, just for the record?
Sure. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tara Bolanda, and I am the current Division E Director. Previous to serving as the Division E Director, I served as the Division C Director. And prior to that, I served as the Area 21 Director. So I have served in several different roles, and I've enjoyed each one of them.
Needless to say, I personally have been a witness to how well you have enjoyed your role serving in the leadership position. And Tara, I have to admit, um, going from area director to division director and continuing with the division director is not an easy task. Few people have done it, but the energy and the commitment you bring to this role is very applaudable. So thank you for serving as a district leader. But I want to ask you, when you were taking up this role for the first time, or for the second time, or for the third time, what did you think about the role as you took up the area director or division director or the division E director position?
That's a great question. I will say when I went, let's start with area director. So when I took on the area director role, I had nothing to really compare it to. And I didn't really honestly know what I was getting myself into. People had told me about the position and what it kind of looked like and felt like, but I didn't really know until I was actually in the position myself what that meant. I, at the time, had a really good division director when I was serving as Area 21 director, and I really think that leadership I had from my division director was honestly the connection that got me to thinking about maybe I should serve as division director. I really enjoyed serving as an area director, and it was my first experience in a leadership role besides serving as a club officer in Toastmasters. And up until that point, I'd really only been involved in Toastmasters at the club level. And while there's a lot that Toastmasters has to offer at the club level in an officer role, and even just as a member, I really, launched that leadership experience by going into that area director role and was able, I should say my leadership journey was really launched by taking on the Area 21 role. And I really, again, credit the leadership I received from my division director at that time to kind of inspire me to keep that leadership journey going. So I then applied and was elected as the Division C director. And what I can tell you is in that role, it was much different from the area director role. In the area director role, you're really at the, working with the clubs, you're doing your area visits, and you're definitely very, very, involved at the club level, and that there is a time commitment in those club visits. But I really enjoyed it. I will tell you that prior to serving as the Area 21 director, I also had only been a part of a couple different clubs. And I think that serving as an area director really opened my eyes to see that every club culture is different. Every club has something unique about what they offer and what they have to, bring to the table for any prospective members. But it was good for me to see that while all clubs are not the same and they all have their own uniqueness and different flavor that they bring, I think they all have something great, and that was really good for me to experience as an area director. When I went into the division director role, I definitely, it was completely different. It was my first time actually leading individuals, and I have to say, I didn't even know if I could do it. I had never led anyone in a position before, maybe campers when I was a camp counselor. That's as far as I got, but I had never actually led anyone in a leadership role. And I was a little hesitant going into that because, as an area director, you're not, besides the clubs, you don't have anyone that you're actually leading. And so if I were to make a mistake, that might be on me. But when you're actually leading individuals like a division director does, it can be a little scary at first. But I quickly learned that I had a whole support system surrounding me that included fellow division directors, and also the trio was very, very supportive during my entire division director journey. I never felt like I was alone at any time. And we, were meeting monthly and having, a lot of, good discussion about, what others are doing in their divisions and what's working well. And so I always felt like I had that support system and was never alone. And then, finally going into a division director again, I think I just felt like, there's so much that you're learning, and there's so much that Toastmasters is shoving to you in this role and saying, hey, like, here, eat more. And I felt like I had so much to learn, and I felt like I didn't necessarily learn everything that I wanted to experience in that division director role that first year. So I decided, hey, what the heck, let's give it another shot. So I got elected as Division E director, and I will tell you that even though I served as division director the previous year, every year is different. Every year that I've served in a leadership role is different. It has different individuals that I've been working with, different trio, different division directors. Also, I'm in a different area, so different clubs. And so I really felt like it was a whole new experience for me, even though I had served as the division director the year prior.
Thank you for sharing that, Tara. And I have to admit that if I'm trying to recall my journey in Toastmasters, and I have rarely seen anybody serve consecutively as division directors for two different divisions. So you are very unique, and I can relate to that every year it's different because the dynamics change, the clubs change, and in your case the whole division was different. So it was like, no, the division director, whatever I did as a division director last year is a completely different ball. But I do want to relate to what you said about each club is different. And I remember when I was serving as area governor, that is what we used to call it that time, I loved the essence, the feeling when I went to every club, because like you said, every club is so different and they bring so special meaning. So I can relate to you when you say that every club is so different and brings a new experience. But I also want to understand that when you were visiting these clubs or throughout your Toastmaster journey, you have had some positive experiences or maybe stories that came up. So do you recall any experiences and stories that you can share with us today?
That's a great question. I definitely enjoyed my visits as an area director and meeting with my division directors. Definitely, I've shared a lot of good times in those experiences. I think for me, what is on the what I'm remembering the most right now is those in-person experience, exchange that I had during my first couple year leadership, roles, because up until this last year, everything was in person. And while I have still experienced a lot of great, meetings and events in my role as a leader during COVID, I definitely think the things that I, remember the most are those in-person experiences. I have to say, for me, what I remember the most, the speech contest. There's just something about an in-person speech contest. And to me, what I think back is, I was working with one of my area directors. I'll share a story about a speech contest that I helped a area director who was, she wanted to work with another area director, but they weren't able to. And so I stepped in and was able to help this area director because I was division director at the time. And it felt really good as a leader to see how my leadership had impacted this area director. And I could see how, the things that I had helped, with had also come out in her leadership as an area director. And so to me, I think it's really rewarding when you can see the, I guess you could call it just like the rewards or the benefit of, good leadership being kind of, passed down to the person that you're leading. And it felt really good to see my area director, organize and lead a successful speech contest for her area. And that to me is what it's all about, is being able to see your leadership, pay off and see someone else be successful.
Oh, I love that story, Tara. That's what I think great leaders are all about, is when you gain something, you give it back. And I love to hear those positive experiences that you are sharing. I have to say, I loved speech contest, and especially the in-person speech contest. Now, I know over the internet, we are sort of substituting what we could. So our choice is either to have a contest in person or have no contest at all. So virtual contests are okay, but I do have to agree with you. There's something special about the in-person contest. Whenever I would be competing, the adrenaline rush or just the excitement is something I really miss. But I love the story where you said that whenever you are helping out others, it's all about feeling of passing it on. So really a wonderful example that you shared with us. So Tara,
Ravi,
yeah?
oh, sorry, I was
no
going to
problem.
say, the thing that comes to my mind about the in-person speech contest, if you think about it, it's the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the audience reaction to, someone's speech, whether it's, funny and the laughter from the audience, or whether it maybe it was a sad story, and it was an emotional story that really affected some individuals in the audience. I think that the audience reaction tells a lot about someone's speech, and unfortunately, you don't necessarily get the fullness of the audience reaction, virtually. But I do feel that there's still a lot of good things that have come from meeting virtually, and I definitely am excited for this upcoming season speech contest.
I agree. Wonderful said. So Tara, share with us some learning opportunities you have had during your tenure as area director, division director, or 2 years as a division director. So share with us some learning opportunities that you have had.
Great question. Definitely, even though I've served as a division director 2 years in a row and area director before that, I have learned something every year, and probably every month I'm always learning something. It never ends, and that's a good thing, because I think that is what keeps me coming back. I enjoy learning. I enjoy being able to learn new things. And one thing that I really enjoy is when my area directors come to me with questions, because it's through those questions that I'm able to learn things myself. And I always tell my area directors, I've had a couple of them that are always full with questions, and they say, oh, I don't want to keep bothering you. And I say, no, that's okay. That's what I'm here for. And I feel that being able to, even if I don't know the answer, that's okay. Because to be honest, I don't know the answer to all the questions, but I'm able to maybe go to someone else who I think might have the answer, or contact Toastmasters International. They're a great resource, and I've actually had some really good conversations from people at headquarters. But thinking back to some maybe more memorable learning experiences, I think that for me, as a leader, we are all of us involved in Toastmasters are all volunteers, and this is not a paid job. And so we all have, full-time jobs and families and maybe other commitments outside of work, outside of Toastmasters, and being able to balance all of that, can be challenging at times. But I think what keeps everyone coming back, even with full lives and full schedules, is that Toastmasters is fun. And so something that I really stands out to me is, I try to prepare my area directors as much as I can to be successful and to be confident when leading a club officer training or preparing for their area speech contest. And, sometimes even in that preparation and, doing everything we can to make sure that it's a successful event, we still not necessarily fail, but we have things that maybe didn't go as well or could have gone better. And I always try to debrief with my area directors after a club officer training. For example, we recently had a club officer training last month, and I had a debrief session with my club officers, or excuse me, my area directors prior to that one from round one. And there were things that we talked about that went well and that we really enjoyed. And we also talked about things that we could improve on. And when I met with my area directors at our division council meeting, we discussed ways that we could, things that we could change or maybe implement into our next club officer training. In our last club officer training, it was so awesome to see how we took those things that we talked about and we implemented them. And so I know that this was a lessons, learned type question, but I think for me, what stands out about it is it's not so much about, thinking about the things that went wrong, but how are you going to take what maybe didn't go well? Maybe somebody wasn't as prepared as they could have been, or maybe we had some technical difficulties and we weren't, prepared for that. And how did we respond to that? And more importantly, how are we going to, what are we going to do differently moving forward? And so for me, I think the main thing is just connecting with the area directors and seeing, listening to what they have to say about how things went.
That's wonderful to share. I have to, as you're talking about your experience with your current area directors, well, some of them saying that I don't want to take a lot of your time. It reminds me when I was area director, I asked a lot of questions, and my division director, Kathy, at that time was so patient. And you remind me of Kathy that is the essence of Toastmasters, is that we are all learning. And as you pointed out, we are not getting paid, not even a single dime for what we do. So I guess the reward comes when we see our area directors succeed. And I have a feeling that that is what Kathy saw in me. With all the million questions that I asked her, she was patient enough to listen to everyone and guide me. And you mentioned that you had an awesome officers training. And that reminded me, I conducted a kind of a panel discussion, and that was such an incredible experience. Now I have conducted a lot of panel discussions, but boy, that first panel discussion is still very special. So I'm willing to bet your area directors are feeling the same thing, that the time you spend, and it's such a wonderful thing to say that after the event, you meet with area directors and you ask them what went well, what could be improved. And that's a nice way to put a closure where we as leaders learn what is really good, what we learn with our experiences that helps us moving forward. So I applaud you for adopting that methodology, because that is surely an excellent opportunity. And I have to add one thing, that this technique that you just mentioned is what I use in my current job as a supervisor, because there are some projects which are really daunting, time consuming, but talking about what went well, what we could improve, those are some of the things which will never have opportunities. So I applaud you for using these opportunities. And to me, that is a very positive experience. But Tara, I'm sure you have a lot of positive experiences. But apart from positive, including the positive experiences, do you have anything that you'd like to share with our viewers? Anything encouraging or anything that comes to your mind?
Well, that's a good question. I've never thought of myself as being this, inspirational person or having this like motivational type, saying that I can leave people with to make them feel encouraged. But what I do think about is what encourages me, what motivates me when I hear from others. And that's when I hear people honestly be authentic and speak from the heart. And so what I would say is if anyone is considering a leadership role in District 6 or and any part of Toastmasters, I would say if you have any thought at all, even just a little teeny bit like maybe, just maybe, this is something that I should consider, I say go for it. Even if it's as simple as just going to talk to somebody who's currently served in a role. Maybe there's somebody in your circle that served in a role as an area director, division director. Maybe it was a past area governor, or how I know they had different names back then. But I think just hearing from people and what experience they had, I think might help people. Because sometimes when we see things on paper, it's all official and it can seem kind of scary. But I think that being able to hear someone else's story might encourage you to take the next step forward into a leadership role that can truly transform not only your leadership journey, but your Toastmasters journey. And I have not regretted one bit of serving as a leader in District 6 and Toastmasters.
Well, that's a wonderful message for us. I have to say, I will echo the sentiment of always asking people to step forward, because I still remember I started my journey in Toastmasters in 2001, and we officially became a charter club in 2002. And then in 2003, I was approached by one of the district leaders to serve as area director. And I said, wow, that is way too much for me to do. But I'll tell you one thing, Tara, I can relate to what you just said, that the recognition, just by asking somebody, there is a special recognition that builds people up. And I can never forget how much positive energy I felt. And it took me a few years after that to become an area director. But that feeling always stays with me. And that thing that say, people will not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. So when you shared that statement, I can really relate to that never stop asking people who you feel, because sometimes other people have to recognize the strength and the energy that you have. And I see you as a person who actually will look to a person. It's like a diamond in the rough, and that person will never polish himself or herself up. And you as a leader has that opportunity and has that power to do that. So thank you for sharing that message. That's how I take it, by the way. So wonderful. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share with District 6 or other Toastmasters?
I would just say the time is now. And even regardless of how much you have going on in your life, you will never regret starting now. That's one thing I've learned, is it's never too early to get started in your leadership journey. And regardless of your background or your experience or lack of experience, Toastmasters is the perfect place to start that leadership journey, because it's a safe environment and very supportive environment as well. So I say go for it. You won't regret it.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for sharing that message, and thank you for spending some time sharing your experiences with us Toastmasters. And thank you for serving as area director and 2 years in a row serving as division director. As you said, we don't get paid for this job, but the time that you contribute as a volunteer is priceless. So thank you for taking your time, giving your time to Toastmasters. And hopefully, some of us who have not yet stepped up into leadership role will find it encouraging and probably will consider you as their mentor. So thank you for stepping forward. You have a
Thank you,
wonderful
Ravi.
day and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Ravi. You too.